John Carter had explored many planets in his short career as a human scout. But nothing looked as strange and beautiful as the world called Raal Prime. Its sky glowed with soft purple light, and 2 moons hung low like silver coins in slow motion. John stepped out of his ship and felt the ground hum under his boots, almost as if the planet itself was alive and whispering. He looked around with excitement, not fear, because John had always believed that humans could be friends with anyone if they only tried hard enough. He carried no weapon in his hands, only a translator device, a small energy scanner, and a hopeful smile. Soon he heard drums echoing from behind the tall, crystal-like trees. The sound grew louder, deeper, more rhythmic. And John realized it was not a threat, but some kind of celebration. Before he could react, a group of aliens stepped out from the glowing forest, their skin shining like polished stone, their eyes bright like molten metal. The Raal people surrounded him. Not with anger, but with excitement. John raised his hand politely. Thinking a simple greeting would be enough, the aliens immediately gasped with delight. They stepped closer, forming a large circle around him. Then one alien extended both hands toward John, palms up, fingers long and smooth like crystal branches. John assumed it was the alien version of a handshake. He smiled, stepped forward, and placed his hands on theirs. Gently shaking, the aliens erupted in cheers. John laughed nervously, not sure what he had done, but happy they liked it. More aliens pushed forward, each offering their hands. John shook every hand he could reach, thinking it would be rude not to. But something felt strange. The air grew warmer. The ground vibrated stronger, and the sky above them shifted from purple to a glowing gold. John looked around, confused, but the Raal people were celebrating loudly, dancing, singing, bowing to him in waves. An elder with silver markings on his face stepped toward John. His voice echoed like many voices speaking together. "Bonded one," the elder said with deep respect. "Your union with our tribe is complete." John blinked, unsure whether the translator was malfunctioning. "Union? What union?" he asked. The elder spread his arms wide toward the cheering crowd. "You have joined hands with every adult of our tribe. This is our sacred marriage ritual, a bond of unity, protection, and shared destiny." John felt his stomach drop like a rock. He tried to laugh, tried to explain. No. That was just a handshake. Humans do that when we meet new people. But the crowd only cheered louder, as if he were being modest. They placed glowing garlands around his neck. They painted soft blue lines across his arms. They brought him gifts, floating stones, singing plants, warm crystals that pulsed like hearts. The elder lifted a staff and tapped it gently on the ground. The ground answered with a deep, resonating hum. "From this day," the elder announced, "you are family to us. You are one with us. You are bound to our tribe." John wanted to correct him, to shout that everything was a misunderstanding. But the tribe's excitement was overwhelming. Hundreds of eyes looked at him with trust, hope, and joy. He felt frozen, trapped in a moment he did not understand. Then he noticed a tall figure standing behind the crowd. Watching him silently, this alien was different, with silver eyes that glowed like stars behind smoke. They stared at John, not with joy, but with deep curiosity, maybe even fear. The elder placed a hand on John's shoulder. "You must come with us now, bonded one," he said. "The ceremony is complete. But your trials have only begun." John swallowed hard. Trials? What trials? But the elder did not answer. Instead, the ground beneath them shook again, this time much stronger. The trees around them shimmered as if reacting to John's presence. Whispers spread across the crowd like wind through leaves. "The bonded one has awakened the planet," someone said. "He carries the signal," another whispered. John felt a chill run down his spine. He had come to this planet for simple exploration. A peaceful mission, but now without meaning to. He had become part of a ritual he did not understand. He was married to an entire alien tribe, connected to them by ancient rules older than human history. As the tribe led him deeper into the glowing forest, John looked back one last time. The silver-eyed watcher had not moved. But John could feel their gaze following him, heavy with meaning, as if they knew something he did not. Something important, something dangerous, something that was now waiting for him, and John Carter realized his life had changed forever. All because he thought he was just shaking hands. John walked deeper into the glowing forest, guided by the Raal tribe. But his mind was spinning like a broken compass. The word married echoed again and again in his head, almost louder than the alien drums around him. He had traveled through dozens of worlds, fought storms, fixed engines in space, survived pirate attacks, but nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for accidentally marrying an entire alien tribe. The Raal people walked with joy, whispering blessings and touching the painted marks on John's arms. Every touch made the blue lines glow softly, as if the planet itself approved the bond. John tried to smile, tried to act calm, but inside he felt like he was drowning in confusion. He wanted answers, and he wanted them fast. Finally, they reached a great stone hall carved into a mountainside. The entrance was huge, shaped like two joined hands, towering above them. Light spilled from within, warm and golden, inviting yet mysterious. The elder waved John forward. "Come, bonded one. You must see your path." John stepped inside and froze. The entire hall was covered in carvings that showed pairs of hands touching, glowing, connecting. Every carving told a story of unity, protection, and something deeper, something powerful. At the far end of the hall was the largest mural, showing an outsider touching the hands of a Raal leader. A bright burst of energy spread out from them like a star being born. Beneath the carving were ancient symbols John's translator struggled to decode. After a moment, the device spoke in a soft tone. Prophecy of the chosen bond. Through unity, salvation rises. John felt cold. "This is a mistake," he whispered to himself. He turned to the elder. "I didn't mean to join anything. Humans shake hands to say hello. That's it. I didn't know this was marriage." The elder looked at him with kind but firm eyes. "Our customs are old, bonded one, older than your stars. You offered your hands freely. Your energy accepted ours. The bond is real." John wanted to scream, but he held it back. He took a deep breath and tried to stay reasonable. "Okay? Okay, fine. But what does this bond do? What does it mean for me?" Before the elder could answer, the ground trembled softly beneath them. Not like before, this was stronger, more alive. Almost like a heartbeat echoing through stone. The walls glowed brighter. Reacting to John's presence as if welcoming him, the tribe whispered nervously. Some stepping back, others bowing deeper. "That happens because of me." John asked quietly. The elder nodded. "The planet recognizes you now. You are part of our living network. You will feel what we feel. We will feel what you feel." John's breath caught in his throat. That was not marriage. That was connection at a level humans had never known. He shook his head in disbelief. Stepping away from the glowing walls, "Look, I can't be responsible for a whole planet. I'm just a scout." A soft voice answered from behind him. Not just a scout. John turned sharply. The silver-eyed figure from earlier now stood inside the hall. Their presence silent and graceful. Their eyes glowed brighter here. Reflecting the golden walls like mirrors, the elder bowed deeply to the newcomer. "Guardian Sarai." The guardian stepped closer to John, studying him with calm intensity. "You woke the planet. That only happens when the bond is true. You carry a rare energy, human. Your arrival was not an accident. John felt pressure building in his chest. I didn't choose this, he said firmly. The Guardian tilted their head. Perhaps. But destiny often chooses before understanding. John opened his mouth to argue, but the ground shook violently again. This time strong enough to knock dust from the ceiling. Torches flickered, the air pulsed. And far in the distance, a deep roar echoed through the mountains. The tribe gasped in fear, many covering their glowing markings. The elder whispered, "It is awakening." John stepped forward, heart pounding. What is awakening? The Guardian Sci answered in a low, serious tone that chilled the entire hall. The Devourer, the ancient destroyer of our people. The one we fear above all. John swallowed hard. And what does that have to do with me? Sci looked straight into his eyes. Everything. Another tremor shook the mountain, stronger this time. Cracks of glowing blue light spread across the floor like veins, reaching for John's feet. The whole hall hummed, reacting to him alone. Recognizing him, maybe claiming him. The Guardian stepped closer, voice calm but urgent. The bond has chosen you, human. Whether you wish it or not, you are the one who must face what is coming. John stared at the glowing cracks. At the terrified tribe, at the Guardian, whose silver eyes held more truth than he wanted to accept. He had come as a simple explorer, hoping for peaceful contact. Now he was married to a whole tribe and expected to fight a nightmare from another age. John closed his eyes for a moment and whispered to himself, I really should have worn gloves today, but when he opened his eyes, the hall was shaking again, and he knew this was only the beginning. John had never been a believer in destiny. He believed in engines, maps, data, and science. But as he stood in the trembling hall with glowing cracks reaching toward him, destiny felt very real. The elder and the tribe looked at him with hope, while the Guardian Sci watched him with unreadable silver eyes. Bonded one, the elder said softly. The time has come for your first trial. John blinked, confused and tired. Trial. I just found out I'm bonded an hour ago, he said weakly, but the hall continued to shake as if pushing him toward something he could not see. Sci gestured toward a massive stone door at the back of the chamber. The door was carved with swirling patterns that seemed to move when John stared too long. It will open only for you, Sci said, and only you may walk the path. John approached the door carefully. The closer he got, the brighter his painted markings glowed. The cracks of blue light on the floor pulled toward the door like flowing rivers. When John placed one hand on the stone, the patterns shifted like water under his palm. The door opened with a deep, ancient sigh. A wave of cool air rushed out, carrying the scent of metal and something old. Beyond the entrance was a long hallway filled with floating stones and drifting lights. It looked like a dream mixed with a puzzle. John stepped inside, and the door closed behind him with a heavy thud. He was alone now. Except for the soft hum of the planet under his feet, the first trial had begun. The floor ahead of him was broken into dozens of floating stone platforms. Each one hovered at a different height, shifting slowly. Below them was a glowing void of blue energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. John took a careful step forward, and the platform nearest to him drifted closer, as if obeying his thought. Okay. That's weird, John muttered. He stepped onto the first platform. It bobbed gently under his weight, but held strong. When he looked at the next stone, it drifted a little closer, like a friendly pet wanting attention. John realized something important. The platforms respond to me. Because of the bond, he whispered. His voice echoed softly through the chamber. He hated the idea of being tied to an entire alien tribe. But right now, the connection was keeping him alive. John jumped to the next platform, then to another. Some stones moved too fast, some too slow, forcing him to adjust quickly. More than once, he almost slipped into the glowing void each time. The markings on his arms flared brighter, as if warning him. Guiding him, halfway across, the path shifted. A long rumble filled the chamber. The platforms began to break apart and rearrange themselves. Creating a new pattern, John froze as several stones moved away, leaving him stranded on a thin platform. Seriously. He groaned. The trial was evolving. Reacting to him, testing him, the planet felt alive. Thinking, watching, he crouched low, preparing to jump to a nearby stone. But before he could, the markings on his arms pulsed again. A soft ripple of energy spread under his feet. The platform he stood on began to glide toward the new path on its own. John laughed in disbelief. "All right, maybe this bond isn't all bad," he whispered. Finally, he reached solid ground at the far end of the chamber. The moment his feet touched the stone floor, a tall pillar of light rose from the ground. Inside the pillar floated a crystal shaped like two hands pressed together. John reached out and took it. A warm pulse ran through his body, soothing and electric at the same time. When he opened his eyes again, he saw a vision, not a memory. Not a dream, something from the Roll people's past. He saw their old homeworld, bright and beautiful. He saw the tribe living in peace under golden skies. Then he saw the devourer, a massive shadow with burning eyes. It consumed everything: forests, cities, entire mountains. The Raal had fled, carrying only one hope. A prophecy that one day an outsider would bond with them and awaken the power to stand against the monster. The vision faded, leaving John breathless and shaking. He stared at the crystal in his hand. "I didn't sign up for this," he whispered. But deep down, he felt something shift inside him. Not acceptance, not yet, but a spark of responsibility. The stone door reopened behind him. Sci and the elder stood waiting. The tribe behind them gasped when they saw John holding the trial crystal. Sci nodded slowly. "You passed the first trial." John stepped out. Still dizzy from the vision. "What's next?" he asked, though part of him didn't want to know. The elder bowed his head. "The second trial," he said quietly, "where you will face the truth hidden beneath our world." John took a shaky breath. He had survived floating stones, ancient visions, and a living planet challenging him, but something in Sarai's eyes told him the worst was still ahead. And as the ground trembled faintly beneath them once again, John knew his journey had only just begun. The second trial began before John even had time to breathe. The elder led him and the guardian Sarai toward a dark spiral tunnel carved deep into the mountain. The air grew colder with every step, and the walls shimmered with faint blue light like frozen lightning. John felt the weight of the trial crystal in his pocket, pulsing softly as if alive. "The path below is the maze of echoes," Sci said quietly. "No outsider has ever walked it." "That's comforting," John muttered, rubbing his arms as the cold wrapped around him. He felt as if the mountain itself was watching, waiting, judging, at the entrance of the maze. The elder stopped. "You will go alone from here, bonded one," he said with sorrow in his voice. "The maze will show you more than shapes and walls. It will show you truths we fear." John swallowed hard. Truths like what? But the elder only bowed and stepped aside. Sci gave John one long look, their silver eyes softer than before. "Do not trust everything you hear in the maze," the guardian warned. "The mountain remembers too much." John took a deep breath and stepped inside. The moment his foot touched the maze floor, the entrance sealed behind him with a thunderous echo. He was now completely alone in the blue-lit darkness. The walls of the maze were smooth like polished crystal. They reflected John's image faintly, breaking it into shifting fragments. Every step he took echoed back to him, first normally, then twisted as if spoken by another version of himself. John walked forward cautiously. The maze twisted left. Right then downward. The deeper he went, the louder the echoes became. Whispering words that made no sense. Bonded. Chosen. Devoured. He shivered. "This place is creepy," he whispered. His whisper repeated back in 10 different tones, each one sounding more afraid than the last. After several minutes, the maze opened into a large chamber. In the center stood a tall pillar covered in ancient carvings. John stepped closer and wiped dust from the stone. The carvings showed the Raw people living in peace under glowing skies. But then the next images showed destruction, cities collapsing. Forests burning, mountains splitting. A dark shape towered above everything, shaped like a twisted shadow with many long limbs. Its eyes were carved as deep pits, as if the stone itself feared them. Under the final carving were symbols John's translator struggled with. After a moment, it spoke in a low tone. The devourer arises when the bond weakens. Only unity can cage the darkness. John felt a cold tremor in his spine, so that giant nightmare creature. "It's real," he whispered, "and they expect me to help stop it." A sudden rumble shook the chamber. Dust drifted down from the ceiling. The walls trembled as though something massive was moving behind them. John's heart raced as cracks of glowing blue light raced across the floor. He backed away from the pillar. Okay, I get it." "You're trying to scare me?" he whispered nervously, but the rumbling grew louder. Closer, heavier. Then the whispers began. Not echoes this time, voices, dozens of them. Coming from the maze corridors. Bonded one. Human. Outsider. "Do you fear us?" John clenched his fists. "I don't fear you," he said loudly, hoping he sounded brave, but the whispers only laughed. A cold sound that scraped the inside of his skull. Suddenly, the chamber floor cracked open. A wave of blue smoke burst upward, swirling around John like a living creature. Inside the smoke, a giant shadow moved, slow and heavy. John's breath caught in his throat as 2 glowing eyes lit up inside the smoke, staring straight at him. But then he realized something. The shadow wasn't solid, was a memory, a projection. The maze was showing him the devourer as it once appeared. Even as a phantom, the creature was terrifying. Towering like a small mountain, it opened a mouth filled with jagged voids and let out a silent roar that shook the chamber. John stumbled back, heart pounding. "Stay back," he shouted, raising his hands. The trial crystal in his pocket glowed fiercely. Responding to his fear, a burst of blue light shot out from him. Slicing through the smoke illusion, the phantom shattered and dissolved like dust in the wind. The maze fell silent again, breathing slow and deep like a sleeping beast. John leaned against the wall, panting. "This planet is trying to kill me," he whispered. "Or teach you," a voice replied. John spun around, fists raised. But it was not the phantom, it was Sci. Standing at the reopened entrance, their silver eyes glowing. "You were not supposed to come in here?" John gasped. Sci shook their head. "I did not. The maze let me through. That means it has accepted you." John's mind raced. Accepted me? For what? Sci's expression darkened. "For the final trial," they said softly, "because the devourer is not only waking. It is already moving." A distant roar shook the entire maze. John felt the sound in his bones. The guardian looked toward the surface with fear. "The creature has sensed you." Bonded one? John swallowed hard. He didn't feel ready. He didn't feel brave. But destiny, whether he believed in it or not, was already pulling him forward. And somewhere above, the devourer opened its glowing eyes for the first time in 1,000 years. Drawn by the human who had bonded with an entire tribe by accident, John had seen danger before. But nothing prepared him for the sound that echoed through the mountain as he and Sci stepped out of the maze of echoes. It was not just a roar, It was a sound that felt like it scraped the air, cracked the sky, and crawled under the skin. The mountain trembled violently. Stones fell from high cliffs as if fleeing from something they feared. The Rawl tribe gathered outside, their faces pale, their glowing markings dim with terror when they saw Sarai and John emerge. A wave of relief washed over them, but it was short-lived. A scout ran forward, panting, shaking. "The devourer has awakened," the scout cried. "It rises from the southern crater. The ground burns wherever it steps." John felt his pulse race. "That thing from the maze is real," he whispered. Sarai nodded slowly. "More real than you want to believe." The elder stepped forward. Gripping his staff tightly, "Bonded one," he said, voice trembling but steady. "This is the moment the prophecy warned us about. You must face the devourer." John stared at him, shocked. "Face it." "Me? I'm just a guy from Earth who shakes hands too icily." The elder shook his head gently. "You carry the bond, the energy, the awakening force. You are not just a visitor now." John wanted to argue, to refuse to run, but the ground shook again, this time so violently that the tribe stumbled. A shockwave rolled across the land like a giant invisible hand, sweeping everything aside. John looked toward the south and saw it, a massive black shape rising over the horizon, smoke swirling around it like storm clouds, its limbs long and twisted, its eyes glowing like burning stars with every step it took. The ground cracked and turned to ash. The devourer, alive, awake, hungry for a moment. John forgot how to breathe. Then instinct kicked in. He reached into his pack and pulled out his small human tools. Nothing powerful, nothing military, just simple tech meant for exploration. John Sarai warned, "Human tools cannot stop that." John smirked nervously. "I'm not trying to stop it. I'm trying to slow it down." He quickly assembled a device using metal rods, energy coils, and his portable power cell. His hands moved fast, fear making him faster. Sarai watched with confusion. "You build weapons from scraps?" John shook his head. "No," he said, while tightening a bolt. "I build traps." The device rewired itself with a spark. Glowing faintly blue, John placed it on the ground facing the devourer. "Okay," he muttered. "Please work. Please work. Please work." The devourer approached slow but unstoppable. The air grew hotter, heavier, darker. It let out another roar that sent dust flying into the sky. John braced himself as the creature's shadow fell across the tribe like a black curtain. Then the trap activated. A bright pulse of energy shot outward. It hit the devourer's leg with a crack of lightning. The massive creature staggered. Roaring in confusion and pain, John grinned. Yes, it worked. But the victory lasted only seconds. The devourer slammed a massive limb into the ground. The shockwave shattered John's device into pieces. Sending debris flying, John was thrown backward, crashing into a pile of crystal rocks. His vision blurred, his ears rang. He struggled to stand. "That was rude," he muttered, coughing. Sarai rushed to him. Lifting him to his feet, "The devourer is older than mountains," Sarai said urgently. "It cannot be beaten with simple energy." John wiped blood from his lip. "Still stubborn, maybe not beaten," he said. But hurt, the devourer lifted its many eyes toward the sky. The air crackled with ancient rage. The tribe retreated, fear overtaking hope. But the guardian Sarai stepped forward, their silver eyes blazing in one swift movement. Sarai's body shimmered with energy, their shape-shifted arms stretching, markings glowing like burning stars. John stared in shock. You're not just a guardian," Sarai's voice echoed with power. "I am the last Rawl protector, born to defend our people, but never strong enough alone." Sarai lifted their arms. Calling energy from the planet, the ground responded. sending waves of blue force into the sky. The devourer roared and turned toward them, sensing the challenge. John stepped forward despite the fear twisting in his stomach. "I guess this is where we work together," he said. Sci nodded. "Our energies are bonded now," the Guardian said. "With you?" The prophecy might hold true. John felt the trial crystal in his pocket heat up. A rush of power flowed through him. The markings on his arms ignited with brilliant blue light. Sci's glow joined his, forming a swirling storm of energy around them. The devourer charged. The earth trembled under its weight. John and Sci moved as one, unleashing a combined blast of light that shook the sky. The creature roared as the energy struck it directly. Its body twisted, shadows peeling away like torn fabric. For the first time, the devourer stepped back. Wounded, weakened, furious, John gasped for air. His entire body shook from the effort. Sci steadied him, silver eyes glowing with new hope. "You heard it," Sci said softly. "No one has ever heard it." John forced a tired smile. "Guess humans are full of surprises," but the devourer lifted its head again. Roaring louder than ever, the battle was far from over. And John knew the real fight was only beginning. The devourer's roar rolled across the land like a storm made of anger. John stood beside Sci, breathing hard, his whole body shaking from the last attack. The tribe watched from a distance, fear and hope mixed in their glowing eyes. The ground cracked under the devourer's weight as it began to rise again, towering above mountains like a living nightmare. John swallowed, trying to ignore the trembling in his knees. "I don't think it liked the blast," he said weakly. Sci's silver eyes narrowed. "It has not been hurt in 1,000 years, and now it has marked you." John forced a laugh. Though his voice cracked, "Great, now a giant shadow monster holds a personal grudge." The air around them shifted suddenly. A warm wind swept across the battlefield, carrying a deep humming sound. The markings on John's arms flared brighter. Lighting the ground under his feet, Sci stepped closer. Their expression unreadable. "John." "The bond is changing," Sci said quietly. "You feel it, don't you?" John blinked. He did feel something deep inside his chest. A pulse that wasn't just his heartbeat. It was as if the entire tribe's emotions were brushing against his mind. Their fear, their hope, their belief. All reaching for him. What is happening to me?" he whispered. Sci placed a glowing hand on his shoulder. "The Raal bond is not marriage as your people know it. It is connection. Unity, shared strength, when you joined hands with the tribe. You connected to all of us." John's eyes widened. "You mean I can feel what they feel?" Sci nodded slowly. "And they can feel you," before John could process that. Another roar shook the ground. The devourer slammed its limbs into the earth, sending shockwaves spreading like cracks in ice. The tribe stumbled and cried out as the energy hit them. John felt their pain like a heavy blow in his chest. He gasped and dropped to one knee. Sci steadied him. "This is why the bond exists," Sci said softly. "Alone, the protector breaks, but united, we stand." John looked up at the Guardian, confused and breathless. "You mean?" "The bond makes me stronger." Sci nodded. "It unlocks what was hidden, and now?" The final part of the prophecy awakens. The ground beneath John suddenly glowed with rising energy. It wrapped around him like a warm current. Lifting him to his feet, the tribe's markings lit up from afar, all shining in sync with John's. The entire land seemed to breathe with him. He was no longer just human. He was part of something ancient and powerful. John stared at his glowing hands. "I don't understand any of this," he whispered. Sci gave him a gentle smile. "You do not need to understand. You only need to accept the power given to you." John stepped forward. Feeling strength surge through him, a strange clarity filled his mind. He could sense the devourer's movement before it even shifted. He felt the tribe's fear behind him, pushing him forward. And he felt Sci beside him steady. Powerful, unshaken, Sci raised their hands. Drawing energy from the glowing earth, the sky above them swirled with blue and gold light. John instinctively mirrored the guardian's movement. Energy spiraled up around him, forming a bright aura that hummed like a living star. Sci's expression softened. Now you understand, your bond is not a burden. It is your strength. John looked at the devourer. The creature let out a roar so loud that birds fell from the sky. Its body twisted, shadows breaking apart like torn smoke. It charged again, the ground shattering under each massive step. But this time, John did not step back. His fear was still there. But the bond kept it from breaking him. He felt the tribe's courage flowing through him like a tide. He felt Sci's power rising beside him, calling him forward, together. John and Sci thrust their hands toward the sky. A massive wave of energy shot upward, spiraled, and then crashed down onto the battlefield. The ground lit up with blinding blue light. The devourer roared as the energy wrapped around it. Pulling at its shadows, its limbs buckled, forcing it down onto its knees. John shouted through the storm of light, "We can do this." Sci's voice echoed with his, together. The devourer thrashed wildly, but the combined energy held it in place. Its shadow form twisted and cracked, pieces breaking off and dissolving in the glowing wind. For the first time, the creature looked weak and not invincible, not unstoppable, just wounded and furious. John's strength faltered for a moment. But instantly he felt the tribe's emotions surge into him, their hope, their belief. Their trust, it filled him like fire, pushing him onward. Sci shouted over the roar of energy, "John, the final step is yours. You hold the core bond." John felt the trial crystal in his pocket ignite with fierce light. He grabbed it and thrust it forward. The crystal cracked open, releasing a wave of pure energy that shot straight into the devourer's chest. The creature let out one final roar, a sound that shook mountains. Then it collapsed, its massive form crashing into the earth. The shadows peeled away like smoke in the wind. Its glowing eyes dimmed, its roar faded into silence. John dropped to his knees. Breathless and shaking, Sci stood beside him. Placing a glowing hand on his back, "It is almost over," Sci whispered. "But one choice remains." John looked up at the guardian, confused and exhausted. "What choice?" he asked. Sci gazed at the fading light on the horizon. "The bond has given you power, but now you must decide whether to keep it." The tribe slowly approached, eyes wide with gratitude and awe. John felt their emotions again, warm, kind, hopeful. A connection he had never known before. And in that moment, he realized something important. The bond wasn't just power, it was belonging. It was meaning, it was family. But destiny was not done with him, not yet. Silence fell across the battlefield. The kind of silence that comes only after something ancient and terrible has been defeated. The dust settled slowly, drifting through beams of soft blue light rising from the earth, where the devourer had stood moments ago. Only cracked ground and fading shadows remained. John knelt on the trembling soil. Breath shaking, muscles burning, his body felt heavy. His heart loud, but he was alive. Sci stood beside him, tall and calm. Though their silver eyes were dim with exhaustion, the tribe began to move forward carefully, afraid the monster might rise again. But it didn't, for the first time in centuries. The devourer was silent. The mountain winds whispered softly. Almost in relief, even the sky, glowing a gentle shade of gold, seemed to breathe easier. John pushed himself to his feet. Still dizzy but determined, he looked at Sci, confusion and fear in his eyes. "You said there's a choice I have to make," he said. "After all this, what choice could be left?" Sci studied him quietly. Their voice, when it came, was gentle but filled with ancient weight. "The bond inside you is still growing. You can choose to keep it. Become a permanent part of our tribe, our protector, our family, or—" John's heartbeat slowed. "Or what?" he whispered. Sci stepped closer. "Or you may release the bond. You will return to being only human. Your life will be your own again." John looked down at his glowing markings. He lifted his hands, seeing faint trails of blue light swirl beneath the skin like rivers. He felt the tribe's emotions flowing gently into him: warmth, gratitude, hope, a connection deeper than anything he had ever known. He remembered the first moment he arrived, thinking he was just greeting strangers. He remembered the fear he felt when the ground shook, the confusion in the hall of carvings, the visions in the maze, the battle with the devourer, the unity he shared with Sci and the tribe, all of it. And a strange feeling grew in his chest, not fear, not regret, but belonging. The elder stepped forward, tears glowing in his eyes. "Bonded one," he said softly, "we did not choose this for you. But we are grateful destiny brought you here." The tribe bowed as one. Hundreds of glowing patterns shimmering like stars across the land. Their voices whispered together. "Thank you." John swallowed hard, emotion rising like a wave. "I didn't plan any of this," he said, laughing weakly. "I just shook some hands." The tribe laughed softly, their emotions warm and bright. Even Sci smiled, a rare, gentle smile that made their silver eyes shine like small suns. John looked toward the sky. He imagined the stars waiting for him. His ship, his old missions, his human life, freedom and distance and loneliness. Then he looked at the tribe people who trusted him. People who shared their strength with him, people who now considered him family. His decision formed slowly, quietly, deeply, not forced, not rushed, but true. John turned to Sci. Breathing steady again, "I think I finally understand the bond," he said. "It's not just power, it's connection, it's trust." Sci nodded. "And connection is a choice." John closed his eyes for a long moment, feeling the hum of the planet under his feet, feeling the heartbeat of the tribe echoing softly inside him. Then he opened his eyes and spoke clearly. "I choose to keep the bond." The tribe gasped in joy. Warm waves of emotion filled John's mind: gratitude, admiration, happiness. Sci stepped forward and touched their hand to John's chest. A brilliant light burst outward, sealing his choice. The markings on John's skin flared with new life, glowing stronger than ever before. The elder raised his staff high. "From this day, the bonded one is not outsider. He is Raal." A cheer erupted across the land. Echoing between mountains, John felt tears sting his eyes. He wiped them quickly, embarrassed. "Great. Now I'm crying in front of an entire planet," he joked weakly. Sci laughed softly. "You cry. We laugh. That is what family does." As the sun set behind the crystal mountains, the sky turned shades of gold and silver. The tribe celebrated around John. Dancing with joy, children ran to him, touching his glowing markings with wonder. Elders chanted blessings older than history. And John felt a warmth he hadn't felt in years. A sense of belonging deeper than any planet he had ever visited. He wasn't alone anymore. He wasn't lost. He wasn't just a human scout. He was part of the Raal. Part of their future. Part of their hope, part of their story. As night settled, John stood beside Sci on a high cliff, looking over the land he had helped save. Sci asked quietly, "Do you regret your choice?" John smiled at the glowing horizon. "Not at all," he said. One handshake changed everything. Sci nodded. And now everything begins, and under the alien sky. Surrounded by his new family, John Carter stepped into his new life. Not as a visitor, not as an outsider, but as the bonded one of an entire tribe. A strange destiny, a powerful bond, a new beginning.